Hello everyone, welcome again to another video clip from Teacher Joseph. This week in our weekly lesson, we're talking about the changing face of shopping. And there's a few idioms and phrases I'd like to go over with you. So the first one today is in the first paragraph. It says, by 1984, the country was gripped with a political fervor. Here it is. A new breath was sweeping over the country in the early 80s with the promise of capitalism. Now, of course, when I'm saying was gripped here, I'm using the passive voice. And when you grip something, you grab it and hold that thing tightly. For example, if you pick up a pen and you grip it or a pencil in your hand, you squeeze your hand as hard as you possibly can. But in the passive voice and metaphorically, we sometimes use this phrase when we feel that something is under the control of something else, when something has taken something else. For example, you could say, oh, I was gripped with the cold last week. It's not something we usually say, but it is something that you could say. People would understand the meaning. Or, oh, John's in hospital, he's been gripped with the flu. I have heard people saying that before, but here we're saying the country in 1984 was gripped with a political fervor. So there was something holding it deep in politics. And because we're using the passive voice, we're not saying what it was gripped by. We're saying what it was gripped with. Okay? So it was gripped with a political fervor. We could easily have said it was gripped by a political fervor. We'd have the same idea. But since a political fervor or political strength isn't a person, with would be more common. So this just means some energy. A new breath was sweeping over the country in the early 80s with the promise of capitalism. A new breath. So if you just imagine someone blowing a breath out of their mouth, you can imagine that breath just moving over, breathing new life into the area. At least that's how it felt anyway at the time. So there we are, a new breath. So that's just a few words there. We'll carry on with the next paragraph. It was 1984. A new shopping mall was being built in my town, complete with a supermarket which would incorporate the services currently provided by our entire row of high street shops. Okay, so my grandmother immediately declared the idea of a mall evil. She said that about most new things anyway, and refused to go anywhere near it, along with the old cronies. Now, this is interesting. An old crony just means, the old people in the street who are always complaining about things, They're usually part of a pub or a club. Stereotypically, they would be wearing traditional costumes and be very much part of their communities. As far as I'm aware, this word cronies comes from the word crone, which would be like an old woman, an old witch-like figure with gossip and these kind of things. So there's always old cronies in every town. The old people who stand around gossiping. That's an old crony. And in this case, the old cronies who wanted to remain loyal to their friends who managed the little shops in the town. And when we have things like capitalism happening, the old cronies are always the last to accept anything new, aren't they? They're usually very backward in their thinking. Well, that's probably all of the phrases we want to use for today. So let's just talk a little bit about motivation. I'm just going to move down here to the very end. And you can see here it's quite long today, this weekly lesson. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of motivational questions. And of course, the first one really is about shopping in your area. So I'm going to ask, what motivates you to go shopping? What motivates you to go shopping? And I'm asking this question to see where the energy is coming from. Now, this has been a topic that's we've been talking about. Where does the energy come from? Is it because it makes you happy? Many people go shopping because it makes them happy. Some people do it to get out the house. Other people go and buy compulsively. They use something called impulse buying. They buy things they don't really need, but it gives them a sense of something for a moment. It's called impulse buying. And I'm asking you this because I want you to compare that energy that you get to shop to the energy that comes from shopping. Compare that energy that you get to shop to the energy, I want to say, to the energy that you need to learn English. Okay, so how does it compare? That energy, that impulse that you get, and you say, "Ooh, I really, really want to go shopping today." I want you to compare that energy that you get to shop to the energy that you need to learn English. It's really important. That energy that you need to learn English. It would be good if you could capture that energy that you take to go shopping and apply it to your learning, because many of us think that these are two different things. Oh, I can't be bothered doing anything today. I'll go shopping, cheer myself up. When you could be learning English. And if you're learning alone, motivation and where your energy comes from is really, really important. And it's just very important that you realize that, where the energy is coming from, how you're using it, and how you can work with it. Just some thoughts for today. Well, that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's talk again soon. See you. Bye.